Hello folks, and welcome to another Whisky Wednesday with me, Phil. Now this week we are taking ourselves across the shore from Scotland and over to Ireland. Specifically, we're taking ourselves to the Tullamore distillery. Now the Tullamore distillery has had a little bit of a tumultuous past, as of many distilleries throughout the whisky world. This was owned by a gentleman called Daniel E. Williams for a long time, who was, I believe, was he a master distiller or like a manager of the distillery? Anyway, he used to run it for a bit, and then he sadly passed away. And then throughout the last sort of 40 to 50 years, it's been owned by a combination of John Powers and Sons, which then became Middleton Distillers, and it is now, as of 2010, owned by the William Grant and Sons Corporation. In 2014, I believe, they relocated the distillery, or they built a slightly newer establishment a little bit further down from where the original one was. And they're continuing to do things over there and make everything some very interesting stuff. They've released the Phoenix over the last couple of years, which is I don't know if it's cask strength, but it's like a 50-55% style bottle. They've done really odd experimental things like a cider cask finish, which obviously Irish whiskey, Irish style drinks, works very well. But what we have here, and it's courtesy of the Drinks by the Dram team at Master and Malt, is the Tullamore Dew 14-year-old single malt. It's 41.3%, it's triple distilled, and it is a vatting of, I believe, Oloroso sherry, madeira, port and bourbon casks. So we're expecting some big, kind of sweet, rich, ripe flavours, kind of spicy, creamy finish. So without any further ado, we will tuck in and see what's going on with it. From the get-go, it smells like summertime. This, along with the Compass Box Enlightenment, this nearly got into my Whiskies of the Year for 2016, but I felt the Compass Box just had a little bit more going on. This is still fantastic though, and the nose is so familiar of that style. It's like a kind of buttery pastry and all of the fruit in the world you can imagine. Just off that one smell, I'm getting things like kind of raspberry coulis, strawberry jams. There's a tiny bit of citrus, but it's like kind of bitter orange jam kind of citrus. A little bit of lime, but mainly dominated by big, absolutely huge summer fruit flavours. I'm thinking like mango, I've already said kiwi, melons, grapes. So kind of zingy and alive. And you got to think, you know, sherry, if it is an Oloroso sherry rather than a Fino, which would be quite dry, yeah, you've got an Oloroso sherry, which is quite sweet anyway, port, which is even sweeter, madeira, which is another kind of spicy sweet wine, and then bourbon too, which is going to provide you with those big unctuous caramel and vanilla notes. There's going to be a lot of sweetness on this. And there is, and I absolutely adore that smell. It's like all the fresh pastry in the world with fruit. Let's see what happens on the palate. There's an initial layer of sweetness, which is a follow-up of all those big, sumptuous, fruity flavours you get on the nose. After that, things start to develop into more of that patisserie style, but it's a very kind of warm, gently spicy patisserie style. Things like cinnamon and ginger, a little bit of clove. And only now, this has been sat in a glass for quite a while I just set everything up. And then after tasting it, are those bourbon notes beginning to come out, because those would be the softer of the four styles of cask that this has been matured in. You start to get a little bit more of that kind of creme patisserie vanilla custard thing coming out with it. So yeah, after that initial hit of sweetness, where the kind of warming patisserie style comes out, kind of like winter pastries and that kind of thing. It's got a remarkably oily, textured style about it. It sits in your mouth extremely well, and I don't know if it is chill filtered or not. I'm assuming it probably is chill filtered, but there is an incredible amount of oiliness to this whiskey. It really just gets everywhere. towards the back of the palate, or towards the actual finish, I should say. Not huge, gentle, subtle, nice bit of fruit, and a continuation of that kind of lemon, honey, ginger style. A truly remarkable whiskey from a distillery that hopefully is going to achieve some astounding things in the future. Now, Tullamore as a whole is a distillery that I've never really paid a lot of attention to, purely because I was only familiar with their standard blended whiskey and their 12-year-old. But this was introduced to me, or should I rather, it was praised down the phone to me by Mr. Joe Ellis, who is obviously the former presenter of this show. And recently, me and Joe were in Manchester and York together. We travelled to York to watch Ben from Ben A Dram a Day finish his charity auction and his last 3 drams of the year. So congratulations, Ben. It was an amazing night, lovely people, lovely setup, lovely hotel, and you know, he raised in excess of his goal. He raised more than £5,000 for children's heart surgery, which is absolutely outstanding. So thank you to everyone who helped to contribute to that, because it's all going to a fantastic cause. But when Joe and me and another one of our friends, Craig, we were in Manchester and we were in York for a bit, all me and Joe could do was talk about this whiskey. Because last year, I think Joe said this, if he would have still been running this channel, this would have been his whiskey of the... Oh, it's on the floor. That would have been his whiskey of the year last year, without a shadow of a doubt. And it nearly got in, I'll be honest, but the compass box just beat it a little bit. There was just something a bit more captivating about the compass box. But this is still an absolutely remarkable whiskey. And as a result of all of that put in, that wonderful rich smell, not an overly complex palate, but just enough to keep you sat there thinking, an extremely beautiful mouth texture, and a finish that is gentle and slightly warming, and in most ways typically Irish in terms of their triple distilled single malts. Extremely reminiscent of Redbreast 15 and Redbreast 21, all of those big round honeyed sweet flavours. And as a result, my score for that is a 9 out of 10. It is an absolutely outstanding whiskey. I'm a big fan of Irish whiskey anyway, always have been, and the guys at Tullamore are releasing some truly outstanding things in the next couple of years. That is one of them. I believe Master and Malt have it for, I think it's either just under or just over £50. If you're an Irish whiskey fan, would totally recommend. If you just like branching out and trying some new stuff, would also recommend it too. But there you go, the sample bottle's on the floor now because I dropped it. But Tullamore Dew 14-year-old single malt, port, Madeira, bourbon and sherry matured, 41.3%, 9 out of 10 whiskey. Truly, truly lovely. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next week. See you around. Bye.